conference call with my school.
Look at this shit. Look at this
Yeah.
fucking-
Oh, there's a guy. Well, yeah. Glad we're teammates now, so.
Yeah. Oh, it's the guys that were apparently transferred, remember?
Oh yeah, we thought they ran. Look, he shook. It's like, oh my god, I might have to use another shield. Be bad.
We got 3 of them.
Armadillo goons. What a name. Bees are definitely better than armadillos.
Going red.
Rogue stinger hive detected.
You dead, bro.
Agent needs assistance.
One's dead.
Rogue hive detected. Rogue agent neutralized.
I'm up with this. Shield gone.
Oh, you're getting beamed up, bro. What are you gonna do now?
Damn shield.
Heals are too good.
I'll be back out.
Look, smaller. Yeah, dude.
System curtailed.
Here.
Right behind him.
Back online. An agent needs assistance.
Oh man, there's more than one armadillo guy? They're fucking
Yeah.
confusing me now.
Yeah, there is. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, alright, they're all out. And then I got one that comes up. behind.
And there's a guy with a rifle in the tower. Bro.
Yeah, they're really playing name games now.
Detected.
I think it's on the 4 Bs.
Dude, my shields are.
Alright, well, good to know.
One's
Hey, what happened, guys? I got smacked up, eh?
The Canadian. Love it.
Rogue stinger hive detected.
Hey, you better
You're
use that
dead,
jammer,
bro.
bro. It's the only thing that's gonna
Get
help
the
you.
fuck out of here, get smoked.
Rogue explosive stinger mine detected.
Let's get fucking blind, I mean,
An agent needs assistance.
You're dead.
watch out for the guy that's gonna come out on our back.
Yeah.
Engaging landmark.
And now he's dead.
Shield
I'm just gonna leave him here, actually. He can fucking wait to get back to the landmark.
Nearby rogue agent killed.
Oh man. Once you can't camp the checkpoint, it's trouble for you.
Yeah. It's funny too, I melt his shield up. I think it's all good with the deagle.
Rogue defender drone. Rogue agent neutralized. Goodbye. Rogue explosive seeker mine detected. An agent needs assistance.
Go put my
detected. Landmark engaged.
You're dead.
Rogue agent.
Hey, what's up everyone? Fuzzy Juggernaut here. So I figured I would show a build that I made quite a while ago and try to make a quick video on it. How quick it will be, I don't know. Hopefully we'll make it quick enough. But regardless, if you like the content, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to see more. If you don't like it, go ahead and hit the thumbs down. Either way, it helps the channel. So I made this build a while ago, actually weeks ago, and I never really tested it out. I always wanted to, but I was just busy with other builds. It's not the best build in the world at all, by any means, or the best one I've made, but it's a fun build, and I wanted to just sort of mix it up and try something different. And so I put this build back on, went out and tested it out a little bit. It did okay. With that being said, we'll get into the build right now. For our specialization, we're going to be utilizing the firewall. This is for the medkit passive, and you're going to want a few of the other passives too, but mainly the medkit passive is just still one of the best things in the game. And then you're going to want to stack into your AR damage and your SMG damage. Our primary weapon is going to be the Tactical Vector SBR 9mm. This is one of my favorite weapons, obviously, as you've seen in some of my other videos if you watched them. We're sitting at 74.5k weapon damage. It's got good RPMs and 40 round mag. And our core attribute is going to be 15% SMG damage, 21% critical hit chance that I rolled on there, and then 10% critical hit damage. Talents, fast hands. You can stack strain, like I always say. I just like fast hands. I don't need to go all into it, but critical hits, add a stack of 4% reload bonus, speed, and max stack is 40. For our secondary, we're going to be rocking the Eagle Bear. This one's sitting at 93.7k. This is somewhat of a hard gun to get for some people. Others have it. So, I mean, I know a majority of the people I play with have it, but it's not the easiest gun to get. And as you see in the video, I actually don't even use this. I built the build around this a while back for the Eagle Bear, but I end up just going straight to my SMG. I just like my SMG a lot. The Eagle Bear is really good and probably a lot better, especially with the headshot damage and the talent that you get with it, with Eagle Strike. But my controller is sort of busted on my joystick, and my aiming's been sort of difficult, and especially with the lag. So I haven't been using it, but if you got way better aim than I do and a good controller, you should be alright. You can go all you want with the Eagle Bear over the SMG, but both work. And I was able to pump out quite a bit of damage on my SMG and take people down too with it. So either one works, but this build's built around both weapons, so both are viable and both work really well. We're sitting at 14% assault rifle damage, 19.5% health damage, and 10% headshot damage. The talent is Eagle Strike. Everyone should know what this does. If you don't, you can look it up. I'm trying to save some time on the video, so I'm not going to really go over it right now, but this pretty much just increases the buff that gives you body shots and headshots that add up to give you really, really powerful damage. 40 to 80% of your damage taken is delayed until the buff expires. For the first piece is our face mask. This is going to be a two-piece of Providence defense. So 10% headshot damage for the first piece, and then 10% critical hit chance for the second piece. Now, you don't have to go with this if you don't have the Eagle Bear and you don't want to use that and you just want to use the SMG or another assault rifle. You'll be able to switch out the chest piece, which I'll get into a minute. And then you can also, instead of using the two Providence defenses, you can use Seska, which will give you 10% headshot or 10% critical hit chance and 10% hazard protection, which will give you a little more tankiness. At the same time, you'll be losing 2 red mod slots if you do that, and you'll be gaining 2 blues, which can give you incoming repairs or more hazard protection or bleed or fire or whatever you prefer. But I just wanted the more damage, so I went with the Providence defense to rock the Eagle Bear when I wanted to, even though I don't even use it most of the time on this build. Like I said, I love my SMGs, and I always find myself using those, but the Eagle Bear is really good on this, and if you're going to use the Eagle Bear, I would suggest using these two pieces. So this is going to give us 15% weapon damage, 12% critical hit damage is what I rolled on it, 5.2% critical hit chance, and then 11.5% critical hit damage mod that I put on it. For our chest piece, It's a Fenris group. Now this is going to give us 10% assault rifle damage, which will help with the Eagle Bear. And in the video, I actually was rocking this chest piece and not a Sokolov. So I had no SMG damage on the build at all, besides the passive and the firewall. So if I would have put a SMG one on for the Sokolov, then it would have been hitting a lot harder. But just in case, I just left this on there and didn't really change it out. So this one's going to give us 12.6 weapon damage, 10.6 critical hit damage, and then 9.1% hazard protection. The hazard protection we're stacking up a little bit on this build, so we should be close to 50%, I think, which does help. I mean, it seems like sometimes it doesn't work or doesn't get utilized even when you have like 80 or 90 to even 100, but I do feel it for the most part with the people that don't have strong hives, but the hive still does so much damage. So the 50% helps to stop the bleed and fire and stuff like that when they got the holster on. And then for the mod, we got 11.7 critical hit damage. The talent on this is Unbreakable. I definitely recommend Unbreakable, but you can also go with Efficient too. That also works well depending on your playstyle. I just try not to use Efficient if I don't need to, but it is a really good talent. So if you have Efficient, or that's the only pieces you have that are in these sets, then go ahead and use that, because that will work just as well. You're just going to have to be more cautious and careful how you play, and make sure you get into cover when you're taking a lot of damage so you can proc that Efficient with the medkit. Unbreakable, when your armor is depleted, repaired 95% of your armor. Cooldown is 60 seconds, so you'll get 50% of your armor instead of 95% because we'll be in PvP. But this is still very good. Gives you a lot of survivability. Gives you pretty much a second chance. Even though it's 50%, that's still 50% that you'll be able to last a couple seconds longer. Maybe get into cover and put a med kit on, or be able to melt them down when it procs. For our third piece is going to be the Yal gear. And this is going to give us 10% hazard protection, 5% weapon damage for the second piece. So this is going to help with our hazard protection. This is what also helps boost us up to 50%. Now, like I said, if you had the Seska stuff instead of the Providence defense, it would boost you up another 10%. But like I said, I chose to go with the Providence defense instead for more damage, especially with the Eagle Bear. Core attributes, got 139,000, almost 140,000. I haven't rolled this one, which I need to roll it actually, but I just haven't got to it. For the attributes, 8.7 headshot damage and 5.1 critical hit chance. The headshot damage comes in handy. You could put critical hit damage instead if you have just the SMG and a different assault rifle, and you don't have the Eagle Bear, then the headshot won't be as much unless you're really good at aim on console. For our fourth piece is going to be the backpack, and this is going to be the Providence defense second piece, which will be giving us the critical hit chance. On here we have 13.8% weapon damage, 9.6 hazard protection, and 5.1% critical hit chance. For the mod, I put 11.7 critical hit damage, and the reason I didn't roll any of those is because I rolled Versatile on here. Versatile is a really good and strong talent. In my opinion, I like it a lot. What this gives us is amplifies total damage, or total weapon damage for 10 seconds when swapping between your primary and your secondary weapon if they are different. So we have an SMG and we have the Eagle Bear. But if you have two assault rifles, then it won't work. So you got to make sure you have two separate and different weapons styles on there. 35% to enemies within 15 meters for shotguns and SMGs, which is good because we got the SMG, so when they're up close, you're going to want to switch to the SMG. That's also why I used it a lot more. I found myself to be up close in combat a lot. I play more aggressively. I can die more that way too, and I do sometimes, so I'm not unkillable or perfect by any means, or the best. But it is really strong for the SMGs, and especially up close. 35% to enemies further than 25 meters for rifles and marksman rifles, which we're not using. 10% to enemies between 15 and 25 meters for LMGs and assault rifles. So you don't get a big ass buff as you do with the SMGs, but it's still 10% increases. Quite a big buff for the assault rifle, because that assault rifle hits really hard and does a lot of damage already. So 10% is going to increase it quite a bit. At most once per 5 seconds per weapon type. So it pretty much you you'll be shooting with one of your weapons, and by the time you empty half a clip, you don't even need to go the whole clip, you'll be able to switch, and you'll have the second proc already on your second weapon going, and the other one will already be on the cooldown. So it's pretty much, you can have it up close to 60% of the time, if not more. It's pretty good talent. Just by switching both weapons, you'll be able to proc both weapons majority of the time without like long cooldowns. Alright, for our fifth piece, we're going to be rocking the Y'all Gear Gloves. This is going to be our second piece, which will give us the 5% weapon damage. This is max 170,000 armor, 6% critical hit chance, and then 10% critical or hazard protection is what I rolled on here. Now, like I said, if you don't want the hazard or whatever, you can switch out these pieces and put some other stuff for more damage. That totally works, but I just like to have the extra hazard because I feel in most situations it does work, especially against weaker skills as the Hive that people don't have a lot of skill power stacked into them. So, like I said, it's up to you. But this set works for me. Alright, and our last piece is the knee pads. This is Gilligard. This is going to give us 5% total armor, which puts us at 1.3 million. We're rocking almost maxed out armor on it, 168,825 attributes. I maxed out the armor regeneration because I use these knee pads on a different build, my armor regeneration build, which is on my channel. And then max critical hit chance, 6%. For our skills, we're rocking the shield and the jammer pulse. Pretty much I rock this on like 80% of my builds, maybe more. It's just because I rock a lot of armor on most of my builds. And having 3 blue tier skills it's a waste if you don't use a shield, honestly. I know some people say the shield's cheesy, blah, 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 whatever, but you can't get anything better for having those blue mods, honestly. It's going to give you 30% active regeneration and 100% shield health, and holstered regeneration is 15%. And we're at 2.8 million almost health on the shield, which isn't a whole lot for the shields, but it's quite a bit, and you're able to take quite a bit of damage before it breaks. Cooldown's 20 seconds, active regeneration is 51,000, but it's honestly, the shield, it really helps, especially when you're going against multiple people. For our mods, we're rocking 4% shield health. This one actually should be the mod from the firewall specialization, which will give us 8% shield health. So that puts us at 2,800,000. And then the last one's a 4% damage bonus, which we get from the shield actually itself from the firewall. This is going to give us a bonus for every enemy in front of us. It's going to amplify our damage. It's not damage we're taking, it's just, it'll amplify our damage output for how many enemies are in front of you, and it also stacks and gives it to your team if they're behind you. So it's really, really, really strong shield to have, honestly. It's amazing, and it helps the damage a lot too, and helps your damage mitigation that you're taking in. For our second skill, we're going to be rocking the jammer pulse. I prefer to have a jammer pulse most of the time just because all the skills out there, and especially since hives and everything else is still broken, and since the new update they didn't fix the status effects on stuff, so people can still have really strong bleeder hives and other things that with no skill tiers on their build at all, and it still puts significant amount of damage on you. So the jammer pulse I feel is like a must, but you can rock whatever you'd like. Defender drone, whatever you have will work. For mods, we have a 9.4% charge speed, and then on the other one we have 9% effect duration. For the watch, I'm not going to go into it. Everyone's watch is already set, and you can't really take your points out of it, but it's just damage and your healing and ammo capacity and reload and armor and hazard is what I have in mind. For our sidearm, we're going to be rocking the M45A1, and this one's sitting at like 186,000, almost 187,000, but we're not really using it. It's just my favorite handgun, so it's not a big deal, especially since you don't get a passive talent from him anymore. For our grenade, we're going to be rocking the cluster grenade. This comes from the specialization. It's a really good grenade. If you taken out an enemy and the player's almost dead and they go run behind cover or car or something, and you can chuck this thing, and they're trying to put on a med kit, and with efficient or any of that stuff, you can chuck this thing, and most of the time it can finish them off depending if how high their health is. But if they're on lower end of the health, like 20%, it can really do some damage and stop them from actually proccing their med kit, which gives you also time to run up on them and finish them off if the grenade doesn't finish them off itself. For our stats, we're sitting at almost 75,000 weapon damage. In PvP, it's 32,773, 60% critical hit chance, almost 100% critical hit damage. And like I said, you can rock strained on the SMG if you want, which will give you a lot more critical hit damage. I just like fast hands. For the Eagle Bear, we're going to be sitting at 101.9% critical hit damage, and then you're at 47.6 critical hit chance. Now, if you want to use the Eagle Bear more, you can actually take away some of the critical hit damage if you want and put on more crit hit chance, but I think 47% is still good enough for the Eagle Bear, especially when you're hitting headshots. So our headshot's only at 84%, but you can stack into more headshots instead of crit and crit damage, or take away one or the other. You do want at least probably 30 to 35% critical hit chance though, and then not worry about the critical hit damage and stack more into headshot damage. Get back to the SMG. Go down to the armor. So we're sitting at about 1.3 million armor. Armor regeneration doesn't really matter. It's just because of that piece that I had for the other gear, for the other build. So that's not a big deal, but 5,000, it helps a little bit, but it's not enough to really make a difference. We're sitting at 280,000 health, and we have, where is it? There we go. 42.3% hazard protection. Now, like I said, if you put on Seska, you'll be sitting at 52% hazard protection. But honestly, I don't feel it's worth it. I'd rather have the more damage, especially if you have the Eagle Bear. And we're getting a 50% pulse resistance, which comes with the specialization class anyways when you put into it. So it's just a plus in almost every specialization that you get, as long as you have points to put into it. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any comments or concerns or questions, just let me know down in the chat below. And I greatly appreciate everyone stopping by. I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you later.